Hi, this is Kelly from Crafty Kellys at www.craftykelly.co.uk. Today I'm bringing you a slightly different video. So normally it's just a tutorial and I show you a sample I've made before. Today is slightly different as I don't have a sample. I've got an idea in mind and I'm just going to create the card with you. So the reason I'm doing this is if you follow my blog or my YouTube channel, I've been partaking in a couple of card making challenges over the past week. It's been absolutely brilliant fun and it's been really nice to kind of get the creative juices going and be inspired by other makers, and I just really enjoyed doing the challenges. One of the challenges I done a time-lapse video which is on my channel, and so it's just me making the card very, very quickly. It was a bit of fun anyway. So the challenge I'm doing today is the TGIF colour challenge, and it's a Island Indigo, Night of Navy and Fresh Fig. So this colour challenge is going to be great fun. Now, I'm using a couple of different stamp sets for this, just for the ideas I've got in mind. And you can create something very similar with any of the stamp sets that you've got that might work, and you can swap in things. So I'm going to use the flowers from the Graceful Gardens because I really like the flowers in this stamp set. And then I'm going to use the sentiment from Picture Perfect Birthdays. So this is in the new Spring Summer catalogue, and I just love the script. And then I'm using, for some of the background, I'm using this speckled one. Oh, and I'm going to use this background stamp as well from Touch of Textures. Now, a lot of our stamp sets do come with these kind of background stamps in, so you can create the look that you're going for. But you can buy just stamp sets which just have background images for you to use. Now to the challenge. I don't actually have Fresh Fig ink, but I'm going to use the cardstock as I've got the cardstock. And the way I'm using the cardstock is I'm going to use the Birds and Blossom Thinlet dies, use the tiny little bird from this set, which I've already cut out in the right colour, ready to go. So we don't have to worry about cutting it out because I've already done that. The cardstock I'm using the Fresh Fig background and the Fresh Fig little cutout bird, and it's a normal card base, and then I'm using a piece of Whisper White, which is just very small, slightly smaller. It's got a 3mm border around it, so it's quite small. And I've got some watercolour paper because we're going to be watercolouring our flowers in Night of Navy and Island Indigo. Oh, I've got to use Tuxedo Black, obviously, for my watercolouring so it doesn't bleed. I'm going to use a little bit of Wink of Stella and obviously the usual bits. So I'm going to start up by inking up my stamp. I'm not going to ink up the whole thing because I only need the flower. So I'm going to stamp off the page slightly so I don't waste, because I don't really need to cut that out. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the large stamp. And I'm only going to ink up the actual flower head because I'm going to fussy cut them out after I have watercoloured them. There we go, that's done. I'm going to pop this over to one side for a moment. So as you can see, there's only a very small, like 3mm all the way around gap, but that's all I really wanted. I'm going to start doing my background. So on my Whisper White, I'm starting with the Night of Navy, and I'm starting with this little stamp because I'm not sure if I want it as like a one stamp lighter, but I think I'm going to go for full strength other than like second stamp. I'm sorry about the light, but it's been filmed like and later on in the day and it's a little bit darker in here, so I'll be moving my lamp around a little bit to try and get the best light. So with this stamp, I'm going to stamp up in the corner to start with, just kind of peeking onto the cardstock. And then I'm going to do very similar down in the bottom corner, like that. And then I'm going to do my happy birthday stamp right in the centre. I could have started with doing that centrally first, but I always do things a bit backwards. So I'm happy with that. And now I'm going to use my Island Indigo to do my little speckly bits. And I'm going to start at the top. And then I think I'm going to add a little bit more up there in a second, but we'll do down the bottom. And yeah, we're going to add a bit more. I really like this stamp because it just looks like paint flecks on your paper. And I think I'll do both sides here. I quite like that. And then my little bird that I've already done in my fresh fig, I think is going to go there. And now we need to watercolour these, so I'll pop this to one side and we will start the watercolouring. So I'm using an aqua painter, and with my ink pad I just squeezed it in the middle so I've got a pool of ink to use. Now watercolouring isn't my strong point, but it's all about not putting too much on to start with and slowly adding more colour. So I start off with a nice even kind of layer of colour throughout the flowers. And I'm not being particularly tidy about this because I'm going to cut it out, so if I do go over the line it doesn't really matter. One suggestion is going quite light to start with, because you can always add colour but you can't take it away. I think that's usually my problem, is I go in quite dark to start with. And the thing is you don't want to make the paper or the cardstock too wet. I know it's watercolour, but you still don't want to make it too wet. So I'm then going to move on to the smaller one and let the larger one dry slightly. I'm not going to give it a lot of time to dry, but it will probably be better if I did let it dry a little bit longer. But I am going to come back in a little darker. So I'm not squeezing or adding any water. I'm literally just taking the line of the aqua painter and taking it around the actual rows in the what areas I want to be slightly darker. So I'm trying not to add too much water because I don't really want to dilute it. So by doing those kind of edges, it just makes the flower pop a bit more, I think. So that's the kind of my way of watercolouring. And then I'll try and blend them through so there's not too many harsh lines. And I think it's working. I do like this colour. So I'm going to do the same to the little flower. So I'm just following those lines around. Now you can see a little hand. That is my son. He decided that he wanted to join in whilst I was creating this video. He's only 1, or just over 1. And he wanted to be involved. So you might see his hand poking in and out occasionally now. His name's Theo and he is fabulous. Bless him. So now I've fussy cutted it out and I've let them dry slightly. I'm really happy with the way they've come out. We need to construct the card then. So I think this is kind of how I'm going to lay it out. Thank you, Theo. And yeah, I'm happy with that. So that will go on there. Then I think I'm going to add some sparkles. Now Stampin' Up have just brought out some new kind of sequin sparkles that have like a glue dot or an adhesive on the back of them, so they're really easy to stick down. Now these are some old ones I've got, but I'm going to use them because I've got them. And I'm going to use some ribbon. I'm not quite sure where yet, but somewhere on it I'd quite like to use some ribbon because I really like this ribbon. And I was going to use one of the Fleck gems, but I decided against it in the end. So I'm just going to attach this part of my Whisper White cardstock onto the base of the card. I'm just using some fast fuse. I tend to use fast fuse. I prefer that over other methods of sticking, like cardstock to cardstock. I actually use fast fuse for quite a few things, like our attached ribbon with it as well. Now I'm just going to use some dimensionals because I want to raise up my flowers and I want to raise up my little birdie. And I'm just sticking 3 or 4 on here, and Theo's helping with the fast fuse. I think he saw me do it and is trying to help. It's really sweet. I always use every little bit of my dimensional pad. You kind of get this edging that goes all the way around it. And sorry, Theo. And it's always good to use that. So then you get, you don't want to waste any. I'm going to have to cut up a dimensional quite small for my bird, so I'm just going to use the edge bit and chop it down a little bit further. The mini dimensionals that Stampin' Up have got now, I think would be small enough, but I still think you'd probably have to cut them down because it's quite a small area to actually to kind of put some adhesive or 3D foam. So I'm just chopping it down a little bit. Now I've got 3 little bits on there, and we'll stick my little bird on first. Little paper fluffy bit. And then I'm going to get some ribbon and I'm going to pop this down the bottom, I think. See what it looks like first. Ruffled up underneath that flower. Yeah, that's how I want it there. So this is, I mentioned earlier, I just used fast fuse. So I fast fused up an area and then I'm just going to lay my ribbon on top, pop it down and kind of bend it to the shape that I want. The nice thing is if you do place it wrong, it does peel off fairly easily without damaging your work. And I'm just going to pop this coming up there and coming back down. Now my flower is going to sit straight on top of that, like so. And I'm just going to trim off this end. It's easier to come at this angle. And I think I'm going to stick that a little bit down with a bit of fast fuse because I don't want it flapping about. Now, the sprinkles that I've got, so these are the ones, I've got out a couple of silver ones already, ready to go, and I'm using the fine tip glue to adhere them to the card. And I'm just going to put a couple of dots down randomly about, and I might add some more in a minute. So if I had a pair of tweezers, it would probably be a little bit easier, but I'm using my pokey tool to just help me position my little sequins. Now, I totally understand why Stampin' Out brought out the sequins with the adhesive on the back, because that'd make this a lot easier, wouldn't it? So, as I've just dropped one the wrong way. But, you know, if you've got stuff, you might as well use it up. I will get some, though, because they are in some fabulous colours. Now, I'm going to stick 2 more down. One here. Ooh. Tricky little buggers. And I think one more up the top here. Yep, I'm happy with that. So I've just brought in some Wink of Stella, because I like to put Wink of Stella on everything because I love a sparkle, and I love the way that it finishes off a card. With this Wink of Stella, it is like watercolouring as well, so it is going to move some of the colour about and blend it for me, so blend some of the bits that I want to get a little bit lighter or a little bit darker. So I'm going to go over both flowers and make it as sparkly as I can. Sorry about the light, it has got on quite dark where I am as I'm trying to film this. So I brought in a lamp to try and help me see as well. And we'll do the little flower. Now my Wink of Stella is running out, so I desperately need to get some in my next order. And I'm going to do my bird. I think as favourite colouring tools, Wink of Stella is probably my favourite thing to use. It's funny you have favourite things you like to go back to. So we finished the card and I'm happy with the way it's come out. So this is for the challenge, the TGIF challenge, and I'm really glad that I've done it. I'm loving the colours, I'm loving the sparkle, and I hope you've enjoyed making this card with me today. If you would like any of the products I've featured today, you can find more information on my blog at www.craftykelly.co.uk. Thanks for watching and catch you again soon. Bye.